what are you doing with AI? Aren't you tired of that pesky question? How do you even start to answer the question if you're concerned about the ethics around AI? Concerned maybe it might be after your job. Ugh, why does everyone keep asking me that question? Well, you don't have to use AI, but from my experience building AI products as an AI product manager and founder, there's definitely room for AI to not replace you, but to do all the repetitive, boring tasks that you never wanted to do in the first place. I've come up with a AI Brainstorm, a methodical way for you to figure out if, should, whether or not you want to use AI at all. So you can finally answer that question. I looked at it, I'm not going to use AI. Or I looked at it, I'm just going to use it for the parts of my workflow, like writing posts that I just really want to spend less time doing that AI is really good at. Or I'm going to use AI in my core marketing or business process. Or I think I know how to use AI starting next year. Let's chat about it more then. The first thing I do in my AI brainstorm is to show this amazing video about where AI started before digitization with a bit of art. This video is created by AI, well, humans that won second place in an AI film festival. So sit back, relax, turn off your devices, and be ready to enjoy a description of where AI came from before you even think about whether or not you want to use it, whether or not you want to like it, because I know it's okay to hate it too. All right, you ready? Turn off your devices, sit back, and relax.
This chimpanzee is using a stick to look for a meal inside an insect nest. When Jane Goodall reported this behavior in the 1960s, she overturned the widespread belief that humans alone had the creativity to use tools. It turns out that what sets us apart isn't tool use per se, but the way we copy and modify tools over time. Anthropologists call this cultural ratcheting, because ideas that are distributed across a large network of minds can't be lost. Instead, they accumulate and become more complex than any individual could grasp. That's what's uniquely human, or it was. Now, engineers have devised computer programs that can also learn from the past and build on what they've learned. We've entered the age of creative machines. When we look at the innovations that have enabled human expression over the past centuries, they're easy to sort into two broad groups. Production technologies are the tools we can use to make original works. They evolve over generations, but their purpose is the same: to channel creativity from inside us to outside. And distribution technologies are how we share those works with people who can't experience them in person. From the printing press to broadcast radio to the internet's many platforms for self-publishing, these inventions expanded the potential audience until it was effectively global. But en route to that worldwide audience, a transformation occurred, a step on the ratchet toward AI, and that was digitization. Stories once printed on paper migrated to URLs. Songs once stamped into plastic were copied and shared as MP3s. And by the time cameras went into our pockets, only the enthusiasts kept buying film, which many would scan to post online. Once creative artifacts are digitized, they can be analyzed mathematically. by machines designed to learn. But that took a shift in how computer programs work. Until recently, you had to tell them what to do from the top down, a rule to follow for every circumstance they would encounter. Machine learning flipped that process around. Instead of giving them rules, you give them a goal and lots of practice. The program writes its own rules from the bottom up, storing them in a vast mathematical web called a model. In the past 5 years, machine learning has given us augmented reality filters, new editing tools, and motion capture techniques. It's transformed distribution, with personalized recommendations that decide much of what we see and hear online. But AI developers didn't stop there. They kept scraping the internet to make bigger datasets to train bigger models on more powerful computers, until those models could be prompted to offer ideas of their own. They can write poems and melodies and code, make images of anything you can think of in any style you can think of. They're moving to video and 3D and VR. It's an incredible pace of change that can leave you wondering, where does human creativity fit in all this? That's a question that painters might have asked in the 1830s, when the rare and exacting skill of creating realistic images was abruptly automated by photography. The new medium was not immediately accepted as an art form by painters, but they soon began to find reference photos quite helpful. And the next generation redefined the goal of painting altogether, sparking the whirlwind of innovation that we call modern art. It's been said that every abundance creates a new scarcity. And when you sit in front of a generative model that's asking for nothing but good ideas, it's your own creativity that feels scarce. Each dot on this map is an image that's been generated with stable diffusion, and they cluster in these congested regions: robots, celebrities, animals. So many back roads for unique thinkers to travel. Getting there, though, requires some skill. What seems like a heavily automated process can in fact be directed in many ways. Whether you begin with the seed of an idea or a fully formed plan, a growing number of settings and tools let you claim more creative ownership of what happens next. And by retraining large models on more curated data, it's already possible to collect as many personalized playgrounds as you have time to think up. The output from a generative model isn't the end of the process. In skilled hands, it's just the beginning. For the first time, we have a technology with the attributes of a good collaborator, one that offers useful but unexpected ideas, that takes feedback and tries again. Gone are the days when we faced the blank page alone. And in exchange, you and your audience will never really know where you end and the machine begins. I won't lie and say that I know where this is going, but we know that there's no going back.
Wasn't that amazing? Don't you love how after digitalization, machine learning, and then AI became possible? I loved how we can just tell the computer the goal and it'll get there on its own. I mean, that's delegation right there. But maybe you hated it. Maybe you thought it was too thin synthetic. You wanted more live action, real actors like Salma Hayek. So yeah, have a conversation. You know, when we make AI, it's a great conversation starter for the things that we love and the things that we hate, to truly get at the authenticity and the values that make us alive. Next, I'm going to talk to you about the AI Brainstorm that I can lead for you as an individual or for your company as a team, to help you figure out if, should, how, and when at all, maybe never, you want to get into AI. Stay tuned. I'm going to share a brainstorming workshop deck that I use to help companies and people figure out what they're going to do with AI first, and then how AI is going to take them into the future. It's called AI Brainstorm by callmejz.ai. I'm going to share my screen. Now, I'm actually going to start at the bottom of this. So some companies decide to start with this Google Design Sprint, prioritizing the time and money that you would save your company and your users by introducing AI. And some of the stakeholders, leadership, and of course your user stakeholders that would need to get aligned in order to get excited for a successful monetized beta launch. We can also start with the inputs and outputs on repeat that you would need to train the model from an input standpoint, and then get value out of the model in terms of scoring and generations of video that would help you save time. But for the purposes of this talk, since we're not only talking about the build AI parts at the bottom of this deck, we're going to talk about whether or not we should use AI and buy AI to even start with. So I'm going to start with a short video of what AI can do, and then we're going to talk about the skills, mostly non-technical. You do not need to have technical skills that you need to start with AI. We're going to brainstorm AIs and go through a checklist of AIs that you've probably already heard of that you might consider using at your company or for your solopreneur business. And then talk about the question, should we be using AI at all? You ready? All right, so in this video, which you can watch on Runway or LinkedIn, it's a video describing how we got from simple machines to sophisticated AI through the digitization of data that became a model that we could be training on. I'll let you watch that on your own. But for right now, since we've already defined AI, I will say that funding from an investor standpoint is solely in AI. So it's very hard to get funded for something that's not in AI right now. The monetization model for AI is still subscription and advertising, but there is a new model for users and companies to train and label data. Moving on, you should definitely buy before you build, just to test and learn. And then most of the revenue and activity around AI is in text or large language models, LLMs. But certainly, as we get into generative video, there is much more of a multimodal text to video, text to speech, and backwards speech to text, image to text, video to text, and all the way back and forth. So this is the definition of AI. Next, we'll talk about the skills. You don't really need a lot of technical skills. I'm sure that you already have within yourself, within your company, people who complain about AI, as you rightly should. Is it accurate? Is it representative? Is it good for humanity? And so when you have those complaints, turn them into a bold ethical statement around, we believe in truth, we believe in fairness, and we believe in humanity. Now, another question that I get a lot is, how do I become an AI product manager like Jay-Z? Well, you can build your AI today for free. Built my own custom chatbot in a couple of minutes, trained it on my own data, and preserved my own brand voice, which you should certainly do today. Then what other skills do you need to have? Well, just data skills. So most of you have input data from my website, from press releases, from blogs that I've written. I put them all into PDFs and I attach them to my custom chatbot to train them. This was my input data. Then the output data is answers to questions like, how do I monetize as a creator? How does a podcast help me monetize? My biggest dream clients. I made sure that the outputs were labeled and prioritized based on what I wanted the answers and scores to be. Last, if you're a statistician or a more advanced data analyst, then you're just as good as any machine learning modeler or data scientist, perhaps sometimes even better, because you understand that the data can be easily manipulated and it's up to the human to complain and be curious about it. Next, we're going to brainstorm some AIs. First, I'm going to go through this list quickly, and then after the last slide, we're going to come back to this list. So I see this in mainly 4 categories, from simple to complex. Simple AI finds and organizes, creates insights from the past and about the present, perhaps predicts the future, does simple tasks, and then decides, recommends, and forecasts the future. Another type of AI, it can see, read, or hear. This is the multimodality, moving away or on top of text to also hear. And then moving on to chats, talks, and generates video. This is where Gen AI comes in. And last, controls robots. That's autonomous driving and a much more complex input data set, not just from digitized information, but also from sensors interfacing with the outside world. Here I put an example of a rap that AI generated for me. That would be an example of step C. I am a very bad rapper. Call me Jay-Z. I rap about artificial intelligence, but this rap does a much better job than I ever would have thought. Next, a lot of the questions that I'm getting are, should I use AI? If you're a healthcare company, a law firm, or a financial services company that impacts life and death, I actually don't think you should use AI. Maybe that's a controversial topic, but unless you have a chief AI officer, a chief information officer, a large budget for resourcing and staffing, you should not get into AI that makes life and death decisions. And that is the root of a lot of lawsuits, that there isn't enough of the things that it would require to make AI safe for life at stake. Most of my clients will start not changing lives, but just making more time for themselves through internal automation. If you think of this 2x2, the axis is internal versus external, automation versus innovation. After I help them with internal automation, like a CRM that triggers a calendar invite, this is my custom Zapier, then we can also move on to external innovation, like creating video for clients after you've already created video for yourself and seen Gen AI video monetize your own services. Last, that's the build and buy decision. Of course, you should buy first, test it out before you build any models or even automations on your own. So for example, use Zapier out of the box and then build a workflow with Relevance or another platform that's more connected to other tools. Then time and money. Now we're getting back to the traditional design thinking and product management thinking, which is that whatever you do, AI or not, it should save you time or money. Hopefully it makes you money. Ideally, it solves a real problem at the core of your business. It's not just a fad. You're not going to wake up next year and think, oh, regrettably, I should not have changed the roadmap for AI to come in and disrupt us in a non-useful way. It should be solving a core problem. Now, if you have alternatives to AI, like a simple equation, please do that before you use something as costly and time intensive as AI. And in the end, prioritize based on a cost benefit analysis for your company and also for your users. Profit, cost, it's not bad. This is how we can stand up to decisions in the future. Last but not least, in the Google design thinking framework, there's leadership. Of course, your accountable economic buyer is going to be signing the check. But hello, if the AI does something wrong, if it calculates the wrong score or makes the wrong recommendation or sends the wrong email, makes the wrong video, who's going to be responsible? Who's going to fix it? Who is going to also involve users? Who's going to consult users and who's going to inform them and other stakeholders inside and outside of the company of these changes? That's where you really get to demonstrate your leadership. Then, as we're using or building AI, think about the inputs. Google's Bard Gemini got into a lot of trouble for misrepresenting our history with a certain race and gender. And so representation is not just important for Google, but it's a question for all of you. How would all people of different socioeconomic, ethnic backgrounds benefit and be hurt by your AI? Then, in order to get to the answer, there should be a large data set of structured data and not structured data, of labeled and not labeled data, so that you can start with the structured and labeled data, but plan for a way to incorporate and repeat the inputs of unstructured data and unlabeled data in the future. Rinse and repeat. Okay, now this is really the last step. So the outputs. Pooh Bear is thinking, did this really save me time, money, or solve my core problem? Is there new data that I should be labeling and inputting? And so repeatedly, we can repeat the inputs and repeat the outputs, maybe on a monthly, even if weekly basis. And the last thing I'll touch on is precision and recall. Precision in the video example is if the stock image or the generated video is close to your brand and close to the story that you wrote out. But recall is a little different. So let's say I'm creating a AI video tool for you. If I only create videos every time you post or email or have a meeting about your client, recommending them, or they recommend you, let's say I only create a video for you every time there's a testimonial. What if I miss 50% of those use cases? They don't trigger my video generation tool. Well, then I would say that's a bad recall, because recall should be above 50%. But that's something you should decide among your team, whether or not the recall needs to be more or less important than the precision. So this is the whole deck. We started with just the titles, but now you can, with your team, flesh out all of these components. I'd be happy to help you bring the team together and further define how each of these subcomponents can benefit your company and your users. Next step, get a summary of this video in text, get a link that you can share of this video, and sign up at brainstorm.callmejz.ai. Finally, answer the question, what are we doing with AI? Never be unsure again. Get my expert guidance, my tailored solutions, and actionable results. Get the structure. Do AI the right way by thoroughly understanding the ethical and technical implications. No design or technical experience needed.